welcome to episode 38 of the Giddy podcast. I'm Helen, as always, and I'm coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 5, and Jasper, who is 2. And they're all home today. Tom is keeping an eye on the boys. Jasper's just been put down for a nap, so hopefully we won't have too many interruptions, but we will see how it goes. Did I say today is Sunday the 27th of January? I'm not sure I did say that. And yeah, we're back. Welcome back to anyone that that's watched before, and hello to any new viewers. For those of you that don't know, I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns. And yeah, that is what I do. That is my job. And this is a knitting and occasionally crochet podcast where I share all things that I've been up to. So I hopefully will have put a screen telling you where you can find me. I think I've said all the welcome bits that I usually say. I can never get these intros sorted. I always forget something, but we'll work it out. What have I got for you today? Right, I've got quite a lot of announcements and quite a lot of talk before I get into the knitting. I'm going to introduce... don't know if that's the word I want. Yeah, anyway, announce, that'll do. So, what have I got for you today? Announcements. I have an announcement section. It's quite big. I've then got a new section, which I will talk about in the announcements. And then I've got the usual finished objects. I've got some works in progress to share. I've got some new cast-ons to share. I'm going to share a little bit of blanket progress this week, and then a little bit of yarny goodness and a little bit of shop news. So a bit of everything, really. So let's go straight into the announcements. As I said, I've got quite a lot to talk about this week, so we will go straight into it as quickly as we can. The first thing is a giveaway winner. So on the last episode, I opened a giveaway thread just as a celebration of reaching 500 subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, that's been open for nearly 3 weeks, I think. And we had 53 entries in the giveaway thread, which is amazing. And I absolutely loved all of the entries. I gave a little prompt with the question, what was your favourite project in 2018? And it's been so fun reading through all of the posts and seeing all your favourite projects. I was quite frustrated that it was a giveaway thread and I couldn't comment and respond to them all. I did go through and kind of heart them all, apart from possibly the last few. I'll go back through and do that. But yeah, I loved all your projects, and it was so fun reading about your favourite projects and what you've been knitting. And yeah, there's lots of things that in there that I kind of want to give a go now. But I did draw a winner this morning. I used random.org to draw a winner, so I put in between 2 and 53 because that's how many entries we had. Obviously the first post was mine, and we have a winner. So the winner was post number 43, and their Ravelry name was, I'm going to pick up my piece of paper rather than trying to look over here, was Serafina, who is Aaron, is that how I pronounce it? I think it's Aaron, who is from Canada, and she knit, her favourite project from last year was an Arctic coast cardigan that she knit for her daughter using leftovers from lots of other projects. And she made the most amazing fabric buttons, which she put on as well. And I will pop up a picture of her project here so you can see. So congratulations, Aaron. If you can drop me a message either on Ravelry or Instagram, probably Ravelry would be easier. If you drop me a message on Ravelry with your postal details, I will get your prize in the post. And this is what you've won, by the way. So I've got a bundle of my January Blues minis, which were the mini skeins for this month. And I've also got a sock set, and this is my Woodland Walk colourway. So it's a blue with, oh, come on camera, focus. There we go. It's a green even with flashes of blue in there as well. Like walking through Bluebell Woods. So I will get those in the post to you as soon as you get in contact with me. Oh dear. Right. What's next? Okay, so I want to announce a new knit along. So I've been thinking about doing this for a little while, and I decided I'm just going to go with it. So for the month of February, we will have what I'm calling the Small But Mighty Cow. And the idea is that you knit projects using kind of minis or scraps. So you're allowed a maximum of 20 grams of each yarn. So each individual colour. So I mean, you could knit a massive shawl, but you can only have 20 grams of each colourway. So kind of scrappy projects are perfect for it. I know there's a lot of shawls that are designed to use mini skeins and things like that, or even scrappy socks, or, you know, and I'm not putting a minimum weight. So little ornaments are perfectly fine. I won't accept blanket squares. So if you've knit sort of, or crocheted, just to say knit or crochet. So if you've knit or crocheted like a few squares to go in your blanket, that won't count. It would need to be a whole blanket. But I am allowing works in progress. As long as the works in progress are less than 50% complete before the beginning of February, then I'm perfectly happy for that. So if you've got a blanket that you're halfway through and you think you can get it finished off in a month, then by all means. But yeah, no individual blanket squares. It needs to be a self-contained project. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So the knit-along will be running from the 1st of February until the 28th of February. And I want to do it now because, you know, February is a small month. It's a short month. So Small But Mighty Cow for February. There will be prizes. I will be donating some mini bundles because it seems perfect. It's kind of a mini themed knit along, so prizes need to be mini themed. So there will definitely be a couple of mini bundles from me. I don't have anything right now, but I might put together a couple of more blanket bundles, and I might save some of my February minis and things like that. If anybody wants to donate a prize, then that would be lovely. Please get in contact. I'm always open to accepting prize donations because it's nice to be able to give you all a different variety of prizes. Anyway, I will pop up a chatter thread and a finished object thread in the Ravelry group, and all the information and all the rules will be in there, so you can find it out. But please come and join in, and yeah, I thought it would be a good one. February is a short month, and let's go for small projects in a short month, or projects that use a small amount of yarn or something like that. Yeah. Tom made me a cup of tea, so I had to have the robot mug, apparently. He knew I was podcasting, so I'm pretty sure he chose this mug on purpose. Okay, so moving on from knit-alongs and giveaway announcements, I wanted to touch on something slightly more serious. And I'm sure I'm going to fumble this and make a mess of what I'm talking about and everything like that, because it's a difficult topic and it is a very challenging topic for everybody, I think. But I wanted to touch briefly on the conversation that's been going around the knitting community at the moment about racism and inclusion and diversity in the knitting community. And it's been going on for a couple of weeks now, and it should be going on, to be completely honest. I will put my hands up and say I was kind of completely blind to it. It never even occurred to me. I kind of felt like it was a very safe world and a very safe community, and it hadn't even really occurred to me that other people might not feel that. So yeah, it's been a bit of an eye-opener, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying that. And, you know, there's so many things that people are saying. Everybody is saying the same things. But what we need to think about is what we can do to try and make the knitting community more inclusive and support people of colour as best we can. And I don't have the words. I'm not very... despite having a podcast, I'm not very eloquent when it comes to talking about serious topics. To be fair, I'm not very eloquent when it comes to talking about knitting, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. So I would suggest that, you know, if it's not something you've come across, if you've not been involved in the conversation, you've not heard the conversation, then I would suggest that you go and do some research. I will try and remember to link to a few people that kind of I've been following and I've been reading who have been very vocal on the topic and very vocal on the conversation. So go and read their posts on Instagram and go and do a bit of research. I've definitely learned a lot in the last few weeks, and things that are actually, when you actually start thinking about it, some things are ridiculously common sense, but it's just never occurred to you. Anyway, so what can I do? That's kind of what I'm getting at. What can I do to make sure that my podcast and my kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, what my podcast and my corner of the knitting community, and I'm not a massive podcast, I don't have a wide reach, but I do have a voice in the knitting community and I need to be using it. Anyway, so what can I do? That's kind of what I'm talking about and what I'm kind of trying to explain to all of you. Obviously, I want everyone that watches the podcast to feel like this is a safe space and that they are included and that they are represented. And the ways that I can go about doing that at the moment are obviously by knitting more patterns by people of colour, supporting more kind of people of colour dyers and makers out there. And that is something that I will try and do. Obviously, not everybody can do that. You can't always afford to buy products from people and things like that. But one more thing I am going to start doing on the podcast, which actually I was planning on doing this year anyway, but it's kind of a platform that I can use to promote and support a variety of makers and design and things, and not just kind of people of colour. But I can use it in that way. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know I'm not making any sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I want this podcast to be inclusive and I want to be able to share with everyone, but I need to make sure that I'm aware that I don't just share white people. Basically, that's what I'm saying, and it's easy to do because, the patterns that you see on Instagram, the patterns that you fall in love with are based on your feed and are based on the people that you follow. And if the people that you follow are pretty much exclusively white, then that's what you're going to see. And, that's not necessarily even to do with who you follow, who you personally follow. Some of that is actually related to the kind of the algorithms on Instagram as well. They recommend people for you to follow that are similar to the people that you follow already. So there's always that issue there as well, which is why you kind of need to actively seek out more people of colour and things like that. Anyway, before this turns into a complete ramble and I stop making sense, my plans this year, which are going to hopefully help make my podcast slightly more diverse, I think, is that I've actually been planning on doing kind of a little segment, a new segment, which is kind of a designer focus or a dyer focus. It'll vary each podcast depending on whether I focus on a designer or a dyer. But yeah, so basically the idea is that I'm going to talk about a new to me designer or a new to me dyer or something like that, hopefully related to something that I'm currently working on, and I can share with you all of their kind of products and all of their makes and things like that. Anyway, I hope you understand that, and I'm sure I will get people who unfollow and unsubscribe from the podcast because I've brought up the topic and I've talked about it. And you know what? If you do, then thanks for watching up until now, but yeah, sorry, it's got to be said. Anyway, so we'll move on now to my designer focus for this week. And I've actually picked a designer who I will be showing a little bit more of in new cast-ons because I am currently knitting one of her one of her patterns. That's the word I want. But yeah, the designer I've decided to focus on this episode is called Noriko Ho, and she is an American designer. I believe she's in Seattle, and she designs under the name of Norichan Knits. And I'm sure some of you will have seen a couple of her patterns popping up recently on Instagram. That's certainly how I've come across this. And the first pattern that I will share is the pattern that I have cast on, so you will see a bit more of it later on, and that is the Kimber Hat, which is an absolutely gorgeous fingering weight hat with cables and lace. And yeah, I've cast this on. I couldn't resist when I saw it. I needed this hat. So I will share that with you a little bit later on. But I wanted to share some of her other patterns, and these are all from Ravelry. And I will link to them all in the show notes so you can have a look. But she's got another gorgeous hat pattern called Viola, which is a worsted weight hat pattern with a cabled worsted weight hat pattern, which I absolutely love. And I'm very tempted to make this holding two yarns double. So at some point this year that might have to come on my needles. But she's got a variety of patterns. She's also got some lovely mitten patterns, or mitts, I guess you'd call them. There's the Lady Olivia mitts, which are worsted weight pattern, and they're kind of these lovely cabled mitts. And also I'm not sure how to pronounce this one, but the Rivoletto, I think it is, the Rivoletto mitts. Which again, these are ones that I really like the look of and would love to cast on. And they're a fingering weight mitten, and they look quite complicated, but from what I can read, it looks like it's mostly made up of twisted stitches, but it's a very effective pattern. And then she's got a number of shawl patterns, one of which really jumped out to me, and that was the Butterfly Wings shawl, which is a 2 skein fingering weight shawl, and I absolutely love the shape of this shawl. It's not a shape that I've seen very often, but I think it's absolutely beautiful. And then going back to our knit along that's happening, she's got a couple of patterns that I think would work beautifully as kind of scrappy projects or using mini skeins. And the first one is the Steggy pattern. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a gorgeous asymmetric shawl, which would be perfect as kind of a scrappy pattern. She's clearly used rainbow minis, which I think looks stunning. And then the last one I wanted to just showcase was the Twitter pated pattern, which is kind of a scarf / wrap kind of pattern. And I love the look of this. It looks perfect for minis. I mean, it's obviously designed to be used with mini skeins. And it's made up of kind of lace and garter, and yeah, it's absolutely stunning. And I just think it would again be a really good kind of scrappy project. So instead of having kind of one main colour, if you did the whole thing out of mini skeins, I think it would look really, really nice. Anyway, that is my designer focus for this week. So what I'm planning on doing with this segment is that it might not come up every episode, it might come up kind of once a month or something like that, depending on when I've got somebody new to talk about. The point is to showcase designers that I've found and that I've loved, and, you know, patterns that you might not necessarily have seen. Because often you see, like for example, with the Nora-chan knits patterns, I've seen the Kimber Hat, and, you know, everybody's seen the Kimber Hat on Instagram, people have been talking about it. But she's got a lot of other lovely patterns that, until you actually actively search for her on Ravelry and actively look through her patterns, you wouldn't have discovered. And it's very easy to go with kind of the what's hot right now pattern, rather than looking at sort of the other patterns that a designer has got. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing, basically. And, you know, occasionally I might have a focus on a yarn dyer or something like that as well. It won't always be designers. But that's my thoughts, that's my plan. Okay, on to the knitting. Let me just sort out my show notes. Have I got anything else on these show notes that I need? Nope, that's all been talked about. Oh, dearie me. I'm so disorganised this week. Okay, yes, on to the knitting. So I've got quite a lot of finished objects to share with you this week, and I'm going to run through them relatively quickly because I'm aware that I've got quite a lot to share and this could be quite a long podcast. But, oh, I've forgotten to bring one of them up. I'll have to share that one next time. It's fine. I finished Jasper's balaclava. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just pop a picture up because I've got a really cute picture of him wearing it. So yeah, I finished Jasper's balaclava. He has been absolutely loving it. And this is a pattern, it's called the Pixie Ribbed Elf Balaclava, something like that, by My Cherry Blossom Knits. And I knit it out of No Maker's yarn, which was an MCN blend, and I believe No Makers aren't dyeing anymore. But it was one of their Christmas colours from last year. Well, no, sorry, from the year before, the 2017 Christmas colour. And it is called Under the Tree. And as I said, it's an MCM blend, so it's a merino cashmere nylon blend. I'm just wondering if I've got the label here somewhere because I can't quite remember. I think it was an 80-10-10, so 80% merino, 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. And it is really soft, and he looks so cute in it, and it is keeping him so warm, and I'm so glad I knit it. Okay, so that's my first finished object. I've got another kind of 3, maybe 4 finished objects. So my next finished object is a hat, and here it is. I have finished my crocus hat, which is a pattern by Mina Phillip, a knitting expat, and I absolutely love it. And I knit this out of Giddy Aunt yarns in the blackcurrant jam colourway, and I do have the label for this one. So this is Giddy Aunt yarns in the blackcurrant jam colourway, and it is a DK weight yarn, 100% superwash merino. And I've not actually tried this on yet. I have blocked it, so we will see how it looks. I'm a little bit worried that it's a bit big and a bit slouchy, but actually. It's got a bit of slouch to it. I don't know if it needs a pom-pom to kind of bring it down a bit more at the back. I can't decide if it needs a pom-pom or not. But no, I think that looks all right. I can't really tell in the camera. It's got a bit of a floof at the back, but I reckon if I just kind of pulled that down and made it a bit more slouchy, I might try it with a pom-pom and see. But yeah, I really, really like it. I'm really happy with it. I love the colour. Sort my hair out. There we go. Not that my hair ever looks anything other than messy. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous pattern, absolutely gorgeous yarn, and one hat off the needles. So that is my second finished object. And then I've got another finished object, and that is my candy cane socks. So there is one, and I have to do them. They are right and left footed, if that makes sense. So the candy canes are designed to go on the outside of your leg. But yeah, here they are. I will just show you one of them because that's going to be easier. So this is a pattern by Ellie of Craft House Magic. And as I said, they're called the candy cane socks. And I knit these out of Down Sheepy Lane yarn in the Holiday Cheer colourway. And again, I have the label. Look, there we go, Down Sheepy Lane. And the colourway is Holiday Cheer. And I believe this is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. Yeah, so it's kind of a high twist. I've not knit with this base before, but I really like the stitch definition. I might have to get some of this base for the shop. I do really like the stitch definition. And yeah, you just get these lovely cabled candy canes down the leg. And I really love these socks. I wasn't sure when I first started knitting them about the kind of the spiraling kind of bit of the green, but actually I love them, and I really love the addition of this kind of colour for the heel. I think it works really, really well. So yeah, my first finished pair of socks for 2019, and yeah, these were my Christmas Eve cast on, so I'm really pleased to get these finished before the end of January actually. Yeah, and I kind of set myself a little goal. Well, I set myself a few little goals for 2019, a few knitting goals, and that was I'd quite like to get one pair of socks finished a month. So that's not to say that they need to be cast on in that month. I just want a pair of socks finished each month. So that is my pair of socks finished for January. I also wanted to add the 2 colours to my Dust of Snow wrap, which I've talked about before, and I wanted to knit a washcloth each month. And I thought they weren't too challenging goals, but if by the end of the year I'd done all those things, I would have a nice amount of socks and I would have a nice amount of washcloths and my Dust of Snow wrap would be finished. So yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, I can't decide whether I'm going to put these away until Christmas this year, or whether I'm going to just wear them. Oh, I did make one modification to the pattern, I will say that. The pattern called for Ellie's Christmas tree heel, which is a heel flap and gusset heel, and I'm not a big fan of knitting a heel flap and gusset, so I just put in my kind of standard German short row heel. Yeah, but it's very easy to alter the heel patterns in a pair of socks, which is one of the things I love, that you can kind of adapt it to put in the heel that you like. Anyway, my next finished object is also a sock. And this is a full finished object. So I'm trying to work out where to put things down. There we go. This is a complete finished object because this is a sample sock for the shop. And I'm only ever going to knit the one. I didn't even check to see whether it fits me. And in fact, it's probably a little bit small for my foot. But I don't mind because, as I said, it's a sample sock. And I knit a sock. I knit a pair of socks. No, I didn't. I knit a sock out of the January Blues gradient bundle, just to kind of show what I was going for when I dyed them up. And the idea was that they would be perfect for kind of scrappy socks, and you can sort of create your own gradient. And actually what I did is I used 4 colours, the 4 lighter colours for the leg, and then I used the darker colour for the heels, toes, and, sorry, that's not the heel, is it? For the heel, toes, and the cuff. And I really loved the effect. I didn't really follow a pattern. I did 10 rows of each colour, and then I just put in my standard German short row heel, and then again I did 10 rows of each colour for the foot. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really love the way that this is knit up. It's done exactly what I wanted it to do. So I'm really, really pleased with that. And yeah, this is just kind of a sample, just to give people an idea of what you can do with the minis. And actually I looked at it, and I do like it now, but when I kind of first did it, I thought to myself, what I should have done is gone back down the gradient, so gone up to the gradient, and then gone to the dark to light again, and then light to dark, and then dark to light. I think that would have been interesting. So if I knit another sample, I might try and do that, just to give an idea of how you can kind of create your own gradient. Or obviously you could even mix the stripes up so that they're not a gradient, they're just kind of different stripes. Or yeah, you could do anything. You could knit a whole gradient sock. You could knit kind of all the way down for one colour and then change and just have the 4 colours or the 5 colours from light to dark. I like that it gives you the flexibility to do that. Anyway, so that's my other finished object. And then the last thing is just a washcloth. Just to say, I knit my washcloth for January. It's not overly exciting. I use the Grandma's dishcloth pattern, which I've used before. I ran out of pink, so I've got a tiny little bit of purple on the end, but it doesn't bother me. It's going to be used for washing my face or something, so it really doesn't matter that much. But I have a washcloth finished. Right, so that is all of my finished objects, I think. Yeah, so we will move on to works in progress. So, works in progress. I forgot to actually put this one on my show notes. So hopefully I will remember to do that before I upload them. But I was sort of thinking to myself, oh, I'm sure I had something else. But yeah. So living in this lovely bag is my Dust of Snow wrap. Let's see if I can get this out. Oops, here we go. Right, sorry. Let me pop that on the floor down there and then I'll be able to show you more easily. So I spoke about the Dust of Snow wrap before and my plans for it. And I am planning on adding 2 colours each month. And kind of having it as kind of like, I don't like the term mindful or mindfulness really. I don't know why, anyway, it's just one of those things I'm not keen on, but I guess it is kind of that kind of thing, that kind of mindful project, mindful knitting. But anyway, really, I just want to spread it out so that I don't get too bored of it and so that it gets done, and also just to reduce the pressure of having a big project on the needles. That's kind of the main idea, is that it reduces the pressure of having a big project on the needles. So the Dust of Snow wrap, for those that don't know, is designed to be knit with an advent calendar. So it's got 24 different colours. And yeah, you knit it. So here's the first 2 colours. I'm sorry I'm not making sense this week. So I have finished the first 2 colours. So I started with this colour down here in this garter stitch section, and this was a West Green Loft yarn in the Paramore colourway. And then that's then gone into this colour here, and this I believe was one of my, just check the, yeah, so I think this is the lightest colour in my Turning Tide fade kit. But yeah, absolutely lovely. I like this kind of, it's not actually lace, is it? It's kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know. Anyway, this effect, this text, this stitch pattern, let's call it that, is really, really nice. And then, yeah, so these are the first two colours that have gone in. And I'm not allowed to touch this till February. But February is on Friday. So I can start adding the next colours next weekend, which will be really, really nice. But I've been really enjoying it so far. It's a really fun knit. It's really, really simple knit as well, and it's just quite relaxing. I am holding the yarn double with mohair. It's just kind of a neutral coloured mohair, which will soften all the colours. And I'm just wondering if I've got the... Oh look, I've still got one in. Yeah, so it's a silk mohair. It's a 70% super kid mohair, 30% silk, and it's a Lion brand one that I got in a fibre share swap from America. And I have a whole bag of scraps and minis in here, which are going to be added into this throughout the year. So it is coming along. And yeah, as I said, I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm loving how it's coming out. I have planned out the colours. Well, I've planned out most of the colours. So we will see how it goes. So that's my first work in progress. And that mohair is now making a nose itch. So my second work in progress is one that you haven't seen for a few weeks. Well, a few episodes. And that is my Prairie Fire, which is also currently not on the needles because... Whoops! Oh, that's back. Because I have a sleeve. I have a sleeve finished. So this pattern has been on the needles for a long, long, long time. And this is the Prairie Fire, which is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. And it's just got this sort of lace panel that comes all the way down the body and then goes round to the back. And yeah, it's lovely. And I really want to get this finished before Unravel, so that I can wear it to Unravel. I've got so many ends attached to it, it's driving me slightly insane. But I've only got one sleeve to go now. I have to admit, I did knit this sleeve a little bit long. I tried this on the other day, and the sleeve is, yeah, the sleeve is a little bit long, as you can kind of see there. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful when I block this that I don't stretch the sleeves out when I pin it out. But I tried it on, and the body needs a little bit of blocking. It's a little bit snug, but that's kind of understandable because the lace is meant to stretch out anyway. So I'm quite glad about that because I want to kind of block the lace out quite aggressively, and I was worried it was going to be a bit too big. So I think what I'll do is I'll block the body out quite aggressively to really open up that lace, and then it will have a bit more of a flowy kind of floaty, I don't know, it'll hopefully fit better. But yeah, I've got one more sleeve to knit, and hopefully I will do that. I will start that at least this week, and hopefully it will be done by the next time I podcast, because this has been a ridiculously long work in progress. But yeah, sleeve number one is done. And in fact, was that where I was last time? Yeah, I think I just picked up last time the sleeve, so there we go. So did I say this is a pattern by Tin Can Knits? I did, and the yarn is yarn I dyed myself. So this was a kind of precursor to my Loganberry colourway. This is slightly less saturated than my Loganberry colourway, but I still love it. Yeah, I think that's everything to tell you about this, really. I'm just trying to work it out. Have I got any more works in progress? Have I got anything else to tell you? The yarn. Oh, the needles I was using for the sleeves. So I did try something new for the needles. I ordered just from Wool Warehouse some of these Addy, are they 30 centimetre needles for the sleeves, and it was so much better than magic looping the sleeves. And the gauge I got on the sleeves was so much better than I would have done magic looping them. So I think it's actually a little bit looser than the gauge on the body, but I'm fine with that. It really, yeah. I like a bit looser sleeves anyway, because I've got quite big arms. So often I find things can be quite tight, especially with kind of jumpers. So yeah, I don't mind if the gauge is a little bit looser on the sleeves and they're a bit bigger. Anyway, that is my Prairie Fire. And that is both of my, oh no, it's not both, it's not all my works in progress. I have one more work in progress. Let me just pop that back in the bag. Oh, that is living in my elephant bag, which I've shown before, by Mrs. S Creations. I do love this bag. I kind of need to go and buy more of her bags. Anyway. Next work in progress, that's what I'm trying to say. Is living in one of my lovely little grey girl bags. And this is my Jemima Socks. And, oh, it's all got tangled up and I've dropped the yarn on the floor. Oh, gosh. Oh, dear. Right, here we go. Let's get everything out of the bag. Do everything off scene so you can't see what's going on and you get bored. Right, I have finished one sock. And I'm just popping it on the sock blocker so that I can show it a little bit better for you. So here we go. So last time I think I shared these, I was just here. I had only just started the pattern. But I have got one sock finished. So these are the Jemima Socks, which are part of the Miss Potter Sock Club that Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears ran last year. And it's a very, very simple sock pattern. It's really lovely. It's just kind of a textured rib pattern. But it's really nice because it's kind of really simple. I didn't need to look at the pattern. I was able to just kind of knit these almost as easily as a vanilla sock really, but with just a little bit more interest. And it's also got, she's got her umbrella toe, and this is the first time that I've used the umbrella toe. But it was really nice to knit. It was really fun to knit. It'll be interesting to see how it wears. And again, I've altered the pattern by putting in a German short row heel instead of the heel flap and gusset. But yeah. Yarn. This yarn is by Golden Yarns, and it was part of, she did a Back to the Future sock club a couple of years ago now, I believe. And there is her logo, and the colourway is Great Scott. And it's just a 75% merino, 25% nylon. And it comes with the mini. In fact, here's the yarn caked up, and there's the mini. And there, as you can see, is the second sock. So the second sock has been cast on. I have finished the cuff and I have just started the pattern on it, but I've got so tangled up. I've not made much progress on the second sock yet, but I'm hoping to get these off the needles by the next time I record. Hopefully. We will see. I always say that and then nothing gets finished. That's really tangled up. So yeah, that is my last kind of work in progress that you have seen before, and I'm really happy with them. I tried it on and I think it fits me okay. I was a little bit worried because I went for the 72 stitch sock, because you kind of had a choice between, I can't remember what the smaller size was, but there were 3 sizes in the pattern. The medium size was 64 stitches and the larger size was a 72 stitch. Now I normally knit 68 stitches for me. So kind of smack bang in the middle of the medium and the large size. And I didn't want to go down to the 64 stitches and risk them being too tight. So I thought to myself, well, I'll go up to the 72 stitches, and before I get to the toe, if they feel too loose for me, I'll give them to Tom and I'll just knit the foot longer. But no, I'm quite happy with them. They're not tight by any means, but I think they'll stay up. I think maybe the rib kind of effect makes it a little bit, I don't know what I'm talking about. But they fit, is what I'm saying. So the 72 stitches worked okay. And I could have altered the pattern slightly and done it with a 68, and it probably would have worked out okay. But I really wanted to try the umbrella toe, and the umbrella toe is written for the 64 or the 72 stitches. So that was kind of the reason I stuck with the number of stitches in the pattern. So yeah, one single sock finished. Hopefully there will be a second sock finished by the time I record again. But probably by saying that, I will have jinxed it and it won't happen. Okay, so I have also got a couple of new cast-ons to share with you. let me just see if I can pop some stuff back in bags. Otherwise, tidying up at the end of the podcast becomes absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I mentioned this one earlier, and I cast on the Kimber Hat by No-chan Knits, and apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Let's just see. Right, that's fine. So yes, I cast on the Kimber Hat, which I will find. Is that one there? You will have seen a picture of it earlier. And so I had a bit of issues with yarn choice with this one. I had a bit of issues. Sorry, let's stop all the crinkling. I'm actually just wondering whether I can show you the yarn that I was originally thinking of casting this on with. But you're kind of on top of the box. Yeah, this is going to make you jiggle, so apologies for that. Hopefully you won't fall over. Oh, sorry. So this was the yarn that I was originally intending to cast the hat on with. Which is, you may recognise this from the last episode, because this is one of the ones that Tom got me for Christmas and he brought back from America. And I went on to Wool Warehouse and I ordered some mohair to hold double with it. Now, when I ordered the mohair, it was a completely different colour to the colour that actually arrived. And it's purely a case of screen monitors and differences. You know, sometimes when you order online, you can't be sure. But this arrived and it really doesn't go with that at all. The colour that it looked on the screen was a lot more of this kind of minty green colour. So I thought it was going to work a lot better. But unfortunately, that wasn't going to work. So I had a little look and I came up with this skein. And this is... literally skein yarn, which is an American brand. I received this in a fibre share swap a while back, and I think it goes really nicely with the blue mohair. It's got kind of the nice colours in there. What I also hadn't anticipated when I cast this on was that this mohair that I picked up is actually kind of variegated, because obviously you've got the lighter sections and the darker sections. So actually the hat is turning out completely different to how I'd initially envisioned it, but I'm going with it and I think I'm going to like it. If I don't like it, then I will gift it, which is fine. So, and I will gift it and knit myself another one. So I think I have just finished all of the first bit of the ribbing. So here it is. So as you can see, you're kind of getting a striped gradient almost with the effect that the mohair is having. But we'll see how it goes on. So let me see if I can hold this up closer so you can see. I'm really loving the effect of holding this mohair with this yarn. I'm loving how you're getting these kind of little pops of the other colours coming through, the kind of the greens and the purples, all coming through the mohair. So I think it will work out quite nicely, and I think I will like it, but I'm still not 100% sure. It's just coming out a lot different to how I'd originally envisioned the hat. But it's my fault, it's my yarn choice. It's nothing to do with the pattern at all. It's my yarn choice. So yeah, so as I said, I finished the rib and I am just about ready to start on the cables and the lace. So I'm really, really looking forward to that bit. And I'm just thinking, oh, I have got the yarn label. So the main yarn, this one here, is this. So it's skein, which is an Australian yarn. And the colourway is Myrtle Creek, and it's 100% superwash merino. It's a single ply yarn. Let's see if I can get that. There you go. It's my first time knitting with single ply and I'm really enjoying it. Obviously the effect of knitting with it held with the mohair is going to be slightly different to knitting with it on its own, but so far I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, hopefully this will continue to grow and hopefully I will like it when it's finished. I'm trying to decide whether I like how it's going to look or not. Can't decide. But oh well, Christmas gift knitting in July otherwise, isn't it? Right, so yeah, that's the first of my new cast on. I've dropped yarn and project bags and everything absolutely everywhere. Oh, and that one is living in one of my naughty knitting sacks. which is the one with the flowers on the outside and the vaginas on the inside. And yeah, what else have I got to share with you? I have got another new cast on as well. And this is the last new cast on to share. So I cast on literally, I think I cast this on, if not yesterday, then the night before. And it is so cute. I cast on a little newborn vertebrae for my friend. And this is actually one of my Make 9 projects. Oh, and to say that, the hat, the Kimber Hat, will tick off a square on my Make 9 because I did say that I wanted to knit a hat this year, any hat. Hopefully a few more than one, but yeah, that is one of my Make 9 projects, is to knit a hat. And the crocus hat doesn't count because I cast it on last year. Anyway, newborn vertebrae. So I am knitting a newborn vertebrae. Here is the back. It's probably the better way of showing it to you. This is so cute, absolutely tiny. I'm actually worried that my gauge is too tight and it's going to come out too small, and then I have to remind myself that it is a newborn size, so it is actually going to be tiny. I'm just so used to sort of thinking of Jasper as a baby, and he's not anymore. But yeah, it's coming along really nicely. And the pattern is, as I said, it's a newborn vertebrae by, I'm trying to find her name, I can't remember the name, Kelly Van Nykirk. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It'll be linked in the show notes. And the yarn I'm using is one of my yarns, and this was kind of a precursor to my Gradient Party trio. So this one was originally the darker colour, but it actually wasn't dark enough. So I saved a couple of skeins for myself, and I love how this is knitting up. As I said before, the friend it's going to doesn't know whether they're having a girl or a boy, but she loves grey. So I just thought that this would work really well because it's got the little pops of colour in, but it's also quite neutral really. So yeah, so you knit the body and then you knit the sleeves, and then you pick up, it's a frontless, so for anyone that doesn't know the pattern, the newborn vertebrae is a frontless cardigan basically. So the idea is that obviously babies are sick quite a lot and you don't want the front of a cardigan getting ruined, so it just comes down sort of, it doesn't do up at the front. So there's not a lot of front to knit, if that makes sense. So this is where the sleeves separate, and you can kind of see there's just a tiny bit here. But you do go around and pick up and put a button, not a button band, but like just a ribbed border on the whole thing as well. But yeah, I'm only about an inch or two away, it's curling up, but I think I'm about an inch or so away from the bottom of this already. So hopefully this won't take me long to finish. And as I said, it is another one of my Make 9. And there's the yarn all caked up. I've got another skein of this just lying around, which I'm thinking of turning into minis for some more blanket bundles. But yeah, that is my other new cast on. So I've got quite a lot on the go at the moment, but I'm quite enjoying it all. Once I can get the prairie fire off my needles, I think that will take a lot of the stress out of all my knitting, because it will feel like a really good big project that's finished. Right, okay, so I just also wanted to touch on a bit of blanket progress, and I'm ridiculously out of focus. Come back, camera. There we go, thank you. Yeah, so blanket progress. I've got 3 bits of blanket progress to share with you. Bits, that's not quite the right word, but anyway, you know what I mean. I wanted to share progress on 3 blanket projects because I do have 4 blankets on the go at the moment, which is a little bit ridiculous. So I will start with Arthur's blanket because I have finished a row on this. This is the blanket that I am knitting out of minis from down Sheepy Lane. And she did, as I've talked about this before because I've been knitting this pretty much all year. Crocheting out of down Sheepy Lane minis. Last year she did Colour of the Month minis, and they were all Disney inspired, and I got each month's mini bundle, apart from one, but I'll come back to that later. And I am crocheting them into a blanket for Arthur. So this is it so far. I've got 4 months added in. So this is the full width that it will be, and then it's going to be obviously 3 times as long as it currently is. But yeah, I've got the 4th row all crocheted in. And I'm just doing kind of solid starburst. They're called starburst granny squares. So they're kind of a solid granny square, but with the addition of these bits anyway. So it's kind of a starburst, but I really like it. And I'm just joining it with a white, which is just an undyed yarn, because I usually have plenty of that lying around. But I'm really happy with it. And I've got the next month's set all caked up, ready to go. And the next month's ones are Make Way for Prince Ali, so they're Aladdin inspired. So I need to start working on this one a little bit more. Right, let me just stick this all back in the bag. Okay, and then I was also going to share my Giddy Yarns mitered square blanket, because I've added a few colours to this and I wanted to share one of the colours in particular. So all of the ones with little stitch markers on are ones that have been added since I last recorded. So I've added on some hydrangea, we've got some roadkill pepper, you can see there. Didn't get much of the speckles coming up on this one, or they're just not showing up on the camera very well. Yep, so that was hydrangea. Come on camera, focus. Then we've got roadkill pepper. And then this was the one I wanted to share. So this one here is the Lemon and Blueberry Cupcake Club yarn. The camera will focus on it. There we go. The Lemon and Blueberry Cupcake Club. This was the colourway included in the January. And the March instalment will be going on sale at the beginning of February. And then this one is the lightest colour from my Gradient Party set. And then what have I got here? So this one was the July Flower Fairy, which is the Lavender Fairy. And this one is 11. So I have added a few more on here. I'm hoping to get a few more bits of yarn stashed away to add to this slowly. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm kind of wanting to start one that's just made out of my scraps, because I keep wanting to add more colours to this, and then I don't actually have any of my yarn lying around that I can add that hasn't already been added. But that's my Giddy Yarns blanket, and it's great for kind of, I think it's going to be great for shows, because I can kind of have it on the stall as like an example of some of the different colourways and things like that. And then the last blanket is, of course, my Battenberg blanket. And this has seen a little bit of work. I've been starting to join some squares. So I'm just trying to work out my width. I think I'm going to add about 4 more squares to the width of this, and then that will be the full width that I want it to be. I'm kind of going for a lap blanket sized with this one. And I have to admit, it's a bit tedious crocheting up the grey squares. It's not as fun as crocheting up the coloured ones, but I'm trying to make myself crochet up the grey ones sort of every so often, so that I can kind of join it as I go. But I've still got quite a lot of little squares. There's loads of little squares in here. Let's see if I can show you, all ready to go in. So that's good. So this is going to continue to see progress, slow progress, I'm sure, but that's kind of the point of it, isn't it? So yeah, that's all my blankets, and that is all the kind of knitting and crochet kind of content of the show. Make it sound like it's something professional. Of the podcast, of the vlog, of whatever you want to call it. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my camera. It's telling me, I think it's a memory thing. There's only enough time for me to record another 52 minutes, but hopefully I won't be talking for that much longer. I'll move on to some yarny goodness. I have actually had a little bit of yarny goodness this week, with this month. So I will start with this lovely box that arrived in the post. I signed up to the Lay Family Yarns, Lay Family Yarn and Friends mini skein club. And this is the January instalment that arrived. And Kelly, who is the dyer behind Lay Family Yarns, is doing a sort of collaborative mini skein club this year, which just sounds brilliant, which is why I signed up for it, obviously, where you get 6 mini skeins, and 3 are dyed by her and 3 are dyed by a collaborator. And then she's also got Jules of So Sweet Violet, who is making little lavender sachets. out of Liberty print, and the colours of the Liberty print sachet each month are the inspiration for the mini skeins. Does that make sense? Anyway, so this was the fabric this month, and the little lavender sachet. I just got her little logo, So Sweet Violet, on the back. And it comes in a box, really nicely wrapped, with a little treat. So you get a hot chocolate this month, and there was a chocolate bar as well, but I've eaten the chocolate bar. There was a little candle. There's a little stitch marker, which came as well. If I can get that to focus on it. Which is really pretty, in the kind of same colours. And then these are the yarns. So these 3 yarns are from Kelly at Lay Family Yarns. So they're absolutely beautiful. Oh, I've got a bit of ribbon stuck there. Absolutely beautiful colours. Really, really delicate. And then the collaborator this month was Terry at Fine Fish Yarns. So these are the 3 minis that she created. And they're also absolutely stunning. And so you get a total of 60 grams, and I'm thinking I might make myself a pair of scrappy socks out of each month, because I think the colours are all going to go together really nicely. And if I put in a different heel, I can probably quite easily get a pair of socks out of 60 grams plus a heel colour for me. So that was my first bit of yarny goodness, and it's nice because now I've shown you I can actually start using the bits in it. Okay, and then I met up with Erin of Henny Penny Makes the other day. We met up. My camera does not want to focus in the right place today. We met up at Soft Play for a play date, because she lives quite locally to me, and she also has a 2-year-old. So while Arthur was at school on Friday, we met up at Soft Play, kind of in between the 2 of us, which was lovely. It was really, really nice to kind of meet up with her and get to know her. And yeah, it was nice to have somebody that you could kind of chat to about work, who does does the same job as you, but also has kind of a young child and things like that. Anyway, but she very kindly brought along and gifted me some minis, which she had offered me earlier in the year when we had the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted. I'm not 100% sure whether these are all her yarns or her colourways, but she's put them in a little bag with her logo in, so I think they might be. So yeah, I'm really happy with those, and these will definitely be going into blankets and things for me. And then the last thing I received was from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. And I ordered her, so she's doing a yarn club this year, which is Tim Burton inspired. So all the yarns are inspired by Tim Burton. And I love that. I love Tim Burton. And I'm a little bit annoyed that she's done it, because I was kind of thinking that Film Club next year could be Tim Burton inspired, but I'm sure she won't mind if I do that. Anyway, so I received my instalment for January, and this is the yarn. So it's called Ambrosia Salad. And the film for this month was Edward Scissorhands, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to hold on to these and kind of maybe put them all into one project together. I'm not sure yet. But she also very, very, very kindly sent me this bundle of minis. And this bundle is the bundle that I missed from her colour of the month. So this is Happy Birthday Mickey. And this was her colour of the month. I can't remember which one I missed. Was it November I missed? I'm not sure. Anyway, she'd obviously, whether she'd watched the podcast the other day or I'm not quite sure, but she'd obviously realised that I had missed a month for Arthur's blanket, and she very kindly sent these for me. So thank you so much, Debbie. He is ecstatic to have the full set for his blanket, but he's also now desperate for me to finish it. So I really need to work on it a bit more. Yeah, so that is all my yarny goodness. So last thing before I go, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of shop news. So I had a Valentine's update yesterday, and there are still a few. See, I never get myself organised for the shop news section, do I? I need to be careful with this because there's some yarn in here you can't see. So I had a Valentine's update yesterday, and it went very well, but there are still a few balls of self-striping. I can't remember what colourways are left. There is definitely some balls of this, which is my Love Locks colourway, which is a new Valentine's colourway inspired by the padlocks, the love padlocks that people put on bridges. It's blowing out slightly, the light's just gone crazy, but that is Love Locks. And then I also had some Bouquet of Roses and some Love Hearts, which were colourways that I did as a mystery Valentine's colourway last year. I can't remember which ones I've got balls left of and which ones I haven't. But check the shop because there might be some self-striping ready to ship in there. And then there's one colourway which has currently sold out, but I am going to be dyeing more of, and that is this one. This is Let Me Count the Ways, and I love this. It is just, yeah, I've fallen in love with this colourway, so I will definitely be repeating this, and I'm hoping to have a bit more of this in the shop next weekend. It is just gorgeous. I don't know how well the colours are coming out, but it's got some kind of purples and pink undertones, and then it's got the kind of the speckles on top. Absolutely love this colourway. And then next Saturday, hopefully there will be the February mini bundles. So again, it will be a gradient. Bundle with a mix of semi-solids and speckled. And February will be kind of a pink gradient. I'm going to be dyeing those up this week, hopefully. So yeah, that will be in the shop on the 2nd of February. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was Cupcake Club, because on Friday, the March instalment of the Cupcake Club will be going live for pre-ordering. And, oh, actually, let me just, I'm going to disappear again a second, sorry. That will be going live. And I just suddenly thought I've got a couple of the January ones left, so I can kind of show you what you get, if that makes sense. So this is the club as it was shipped out in January. Excuse the rustling. So you get 120 grams of yarn. So in this case, you got kind of the, oh, you're not going to be able to see it very well, but the lemon and blueberry themed yarn with a kind of a blueberry mini to go with it. And then this month, January included a notions pouch from Gemma, the little grey girl, which is in there. And then you also get a recipe card. I'm trying to think whether I'm going to be able to show you. No, anyway, I can show you the back. So I've had cards, proper cards printed with all the recipe, on for the Cupcake Club, which is just not showing in there, is it? But anyway, I've shared a picture on Instagram sort of revealing the whole club, but that's kind of what you get. So what was I saying? Brain's dead. Yes, so the next instalment of the Cupcake Club will be going live on Friday, and March's theme is strawberry and vanilla, and I can't wait to start cooking those cupcakes. And I can reveal as well that my collaborator for March is Hannah of the Corner of Craft, and she will be creating one of her beautiful beaded stitch markers, progress keepers, for the club, inspired by the kind of strawberry and vanilla theme. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then keep an eye on Instagram and Facebook. I will be sharing a little bit more about that in the next couple of days, and the listings will go live on Friday. So that is it then, I think. That is everything I've talked about. I'm just looking around to see if there's anything else I've forgotten to share with you, but I don't think there is. And if there is, I can leave it until next time. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, if you've stuck with me through to the end. And yeah, I will see you again, hopefully in a couple of weeks, although I always say that and then it ends up being 3 weeks. But yeah, life just keeps getting in the way. So yeah, hopefully I will see you in a couple of weeks. See you soon. Bye.